Hello, in this video, we're going to talk about auction setup, the logistics of it. How do we set up auctions? How do we take pictures? More concepts rather than showing you the how-tos. We'll get into more of that in the software training. But there's a lot to go through here, so I don't want to delay anything. Let's jump into it. So first and foremost, what have we found, especially with new affiliates? What I would encourage you to do is not wait. Even if you have a small auction that you're starting with of your own items, create the momentum right away and do an auction within the first month or two. When we see affiliates, especially new affiliates that wait 6 months to a year before they get rolling, they lose all of that momentum. And a good majority of those never even do an auction. It goes to the back burner, they get busy, and they may never do an auction with KBIT. So I would encourage you to get going right away and don't wait. Use your other business experience to guide you as you're going through this. You're going to find that there's many different ways to create auctions. And the reality is the process of taking pictures and writing descriptions, that's the easy part of our job. The hard part of our job is getting sellers. The hard part of our job is branding ourselves. It's marketing. It's being professional. It's all those little things that make up a business. The easy part is really taking pictures and writing descriptions. That's all the labor that's involved into it. So obviously you still want to optimize your time. So always be looking at what's working for you, what's not. Keep track of those of time that you're putting into each auction and try to get better each time. We talked about in commissions and in valuing your time. You really have to look at the numbers to make sure that you're, what you're putting in, you're getting out on the back end. So when it comes to creating auctions, there's really four main parts to the process. It starts with organization and cleaning of items, and then we get into lotting and tagging items. Third, photography and videos, probably most important. And then 4 is our descriptions. So when you break down the process of creating an auction, it's really broken down into those 4 parts. And we're going to go through a little bit of each one and why it's important and some best practices for each one. As we get started, we want to talk about lot composition and what that is. So a lot is an item or items within your auction. You're selling that lot for that one price. A lot could have 10 items in it. A lot could be one vehicle. It could be one skid steer. The average number of lots in an auction is probably about 150, in that range. I get questions all the time about how many lots is too many lots. And my answer to that is it really depends on your seller situation. If you can control your inventory, then yeah, you maybe want to shoot for 200, 250 lot auctions. But if your seller has 2,000 lots that need to be sold by the end of the month, there's nothing you can do to really rectify that situation. So some people say bidders are looking through the auction catalog and they get fatigued by page 3. Yeah, I get that, but I just don't see that on a regular basis. For example, if we have a large auction with 1,000 items and I'm on page 12, what I'll see is that prices on the page 12 are still doing really, really well. And sometimes there's more watchers on those late items than there are in the beginning items. And the reason being is, bidders are committing to going to that auction removal. Maybe they're, planning to win some bigger items up front, and now they just got to fill up their trailer with the rest of the stuff. So we don't see a dramatic drop in price and effectiveness in the back end of the auction. So I don't want you to worry too much about that. I think there's a lot of anecdotal information out there about people saying people get fatigued. But if there's value there, bidders are going to bid on it and the prices will be where they need to be. As far as lot composition, we really want you to try to average a $25 to $50 lot value or plus. And that's not for our sake, that's for your sake. And I'm going to explain why. When you're putting together your lot, say you have a bunch of tools and you're putting together all the hammers, avoid relying on your seller and use your own expertise to do that. Because your seller might want you to sell every hammer individually because he knows he spent $15 to $20 on each one. No one in their right mind is going to be buying a single hammer in an online auction. They'll buy 5, they'll buy 10. But they're not going to get anywhere near the price that your Mr. Seller paid for them. So we need to bunch those items together to make sure we give the buyers enough incentive to bid on them and purchase them. There are a bunch of dangers to low value lots. First off, they're unprofitable. If you're selling a bunch of $5 to $10 lots, there's a lot of labor that's involved in that. And even at a higher commission rate, it takes a lot of time and effort and lots in order to be remain profitable. Second, low bidder participation. If there's not an incentive to buy and to purchase and to get in my car and drive or have it shipped, just because there's not enough value there, you're going to suffer from it. We do see higher no-show rates. So bidders that don't actually show up. And the reason being, they're maybe bidding on some higher dollar items in the front of the auction, and they end up winning 2 items for $7. Now, that drive for an hour and a half is no longer worth it to them. So the no-show rates jump up on invoices under $25. And then lastly, brand implications. Are you going to be the one selling trinkets worth $5? Is that what you want to be known as? Because what you sell is an extension of your brand, and that's what people are going to be bringing you to sell more of. So just be aware of that there are brand implications in selling low dollar assets. So here's just some examples of lot composition done well. On the left, there's some toy cars that were sold in a flat box like that. Those boxes, by the way, are great, especially if you have your own location. You can get those at liquor stores and grocery stores. Auctioneers all across the country always talk about not having enough of those boxes. But I digress. Second one, selection of tools. Like my example earlier, you're not going to sell one hammer at a time. You got to sell them in groups. This gives me enough incentive to bid 20, 25, 30 bucks on it. Yeah, there might be $150 in retail there, but that was 20 years ago. I still need incentive to buy it. And that's one way that you can do it, is grouping those like items together. And then the last one on the right, costume jewelry, not a ton of value on its own, but together, now you have a little bit of a collection. This is probably going to sell for 50, 100, 150 bucks because there's enough value there to drive the participation in the auction. Next, jumping into photos right away. Just some quick tips. Lighting is probably the most important aspect of photography. And knowing when your lighting is good and bad, sometimes you can't tell from the beginning. So always go back and take a look at pictures that you've taken to make sure that your lighting is good. This is the exact same item, moved 3 feet apart. Which one is going to get the higher bid price? I can guarantee you it'd be the one on the right. So lighting is a huge aspect of this. If you're in a dark and dirty warehouse, be aware of that. Bring in lighting if you can. Natural lighting is the best, if at all possible, taking pictures outside. But be aware if the lighting in an area that you're going into is bad, it's going to reflect that in your pictures, and prices will suffer because of that. So if you can bring in lighting, that can be a great help. Angles are very important as well. Which one of these is more pleasing to the eye? I would say the one on the right. It gives me more of a view of the item that I'm bidding on, and that one's going to draw more attention too. So, and let's not forget that the first step that buyers take in the process is they need to click into your auction to start with. So give them the incentive, give them that eye candy that draws them into the auction, and use these angles like on a vehicle. Get the that corner image that shows more of it. This one's even coming down a little bit as compared to the one on the left. Yes, this is an important picture to have in your lot, but that's not your number one photo. The one on the right is much better at drawing attention and drawing that eye in. Clutter, this is a big one. When we're going into situations that look like this, it just gives you a headache looking at it. The reality is, clutter and messes and dirtiness all play an impact in the buyer's eye. If you're selling one of these items in this page and you're taking a picture like this, no one would do this, but this is an extreme example. It's going to deter or decrease bid prices because of how the buyer thinks that the seller is taking care of their items. I have another image that I'll show you that'll give you a better example of that. Cleanliness, look at these 3 items. So this is a cantilever racking section. All great items, all good value, but pretty crazy how different the price is. The one on the far right is probably the most valuable. You know, it's a bigger piece, but the one on the left sold for the highest price. You know, there's different factors involved. But first and foremost, there's no clutter and it's clean. It looks almost brand new, and that's been used. The second one, you know, great for convenience. Ideally, what you want is to take your picture of the first one on the left and then have it ready for the buyer strapped up on a pallet like the one in the middle, because that's the easiest way for a buyer to see it when it's up, and then know that the transportation is going to be easy and they don't have to send people over there to take it down. The one on the right probably suffered just because of the clutterness factor. And maybe, you know, there's going to be more work in taking it down. It's not as clean. There's, you can't really get a good eye on the condition of it. It's not close up enough. So cleanliness, organization, it all really plays a part in the prices that you're going to get at auction. Uniformity. You know, I'm big on this. And this is when you're looking through the all auction list. I'm big on taking landscape photos. I would encourage you to take as many landscape as you can, just because that's the way most of our marketing is formatted, through landscape, and it's more appealing to the eye. So when you're scrolling through an auction and these are your featured images, which one of these draws your eye better? It's going to be the one that with more uniformity. The other one, you know, it looks a little mismatched. It looks a little bit off. I'm certainly going to be drawn to the second one, the lower one, than I would be the top one. So if you have a warehouse, if you have a location, you know, I would encourage you to always shoot for the same style of shot if you can at all possible. Get the same angles, same lighting, get that consistency going. And then, you know, we have some affiliates that have their logo in the background with the backdrop. That looks great. Do whatever you can to, you know, separate yourself, separate your pictures, separate your brand. Do you need a photo booth? If you have a warehouse, you probably do want to look at some kind of a photo booth, and it might not be something like this, but you want to make sure that the lighting is great, that you have that clean background. Look at the example here, the white background. This is going to take some really great pictures. It reduces the clutter. It shows everything that we need to know. So if you have your own location, I would encourage you to have some kind of a photo booth set up. And luckily, you don't have to spend a ton of money to do it. This is the one I set up at our office. I think I actually bought the shelf itself on a K-Bid auction for 50, 60 bucks. I had the lighting for under 100 bucks. I got the backdrop there for 30, 40 bucks. So for under $250, I got you know, a pretty good setup. I'd probably get even brighter lights there. I got a black and a white background to use. But this, you know, it's even got wheels on it, so I can wheel it around the warehouse if I need to. For under 250 bucks, you can get something set up like this. You don't have to spend big money to do it. And it's going to make you look more professional, and it's going to make your pictures look better. It's going to make your prices higher, which in turn is going to get you more sellers. And that's the name of the game. High prices, more sellers, happy sellers, repeat business. All right, so we got some examples here of the good or bad game of images that we've seen on auction before. We'll just go through these real quick. I love the way that this affiliate takes pictures of their jewelry. Now they actually use a black or white background. This looks metallic, but it still looks really good. You can tell that they've taken their time. They know what they're doing. He's probably taken some classes on how to best photograph jewelry like this. And when it comes to photography, I'm not going to sit here and show you the best of the best practices, because I'm not a photographer. The good news, you go on YouTube, there's hundreds of videos on how to take good pictures in any conditions. Nowadays, that knowledge is at our fingertips through YouTube and other venues. So I'd encourage you, if you want to get really good at this, you need to be, you know, honing your craft and learning and watching some of those videos. So this first example, great picture. It shows what we need to show. The lighting's good. A+ on that. The next one, kind of the polar opposite. I get what they were trying to do with the background, but that it's really getting the opposite effect. Now it just looks dirty, like like a garage sale. And there's some value here to these old tools. Someone is going to buy these, but not the way that they're presented. And if I'm a seller looking at this, is this someone I'm going to hire to handle my estate? Personally, probably not. I want someone to take the effort to at least, make it look presentable. Next, can't argue with this photo here. This was actually taken during the holiday season as well. So it's got the bow on there for extra credit. It's got the angle, it's got the backdrop, it's got the lighting, it's got everything. This affiliate sells specifically golf carts and does it very, very well. Every image they take looks exactly the same. And that consistency has gotten them great prices overall. So can't say enough good things about this. This next image, it looks great for the most part, but it looks like a Craigslist ad. And what do I mean by that? It looks like someone took it with their phone, which is fine. Most of our affiliates probably use their phone for photography, but don't make it look like you're taking pictures on your phone. So this one is, it should have been taken landscape. They should have been closer. It looks like a Craigslist ad, someone trying to sell this truck. The angle's great, but they went 50% of the way there. They could have gone 100% of the way. Get the landscape long photo and get a little bit closer and show what it looks like. This one is terrible. There's no sugarcoating this. What even is it? It's actually a freezer. This is the only image that was available on this auction, sadly, and did not do well, not surprisingly. Yeah, there's nothing good to say about this. If you can't tell at a glance of what they're selling, this one even looks pixelated, so it might have been a smaller image that was pulled from somewhere else. This is what I'm talking about, extension of your brand. Sellers are watching you. Buyers are watching you. This is a direct impact on your ability to be successful. So don't do this. Next, vehicles. If you're selling vehicles, watch some of our affiliates that are doing a really good job in selling a lot of vehicles. Every vehicle has the same angles, they have the same process, they have the same backgrounds. This one, for the car that it is, yeah, it'd be nice if there wasn't a farm in the background, but that's where they're at. So for what they're working with, the picture looks great. And there's many more examples of this specific affiliate who sells hundreds of vehicles that they really got their process down. So I would encourage you, if you're going to sell vehicles, take a look at some of those affiliates who sell regularly and emulate what they're doing. You could probably guess this image. I don't even know what it is. I think it was a necklace or some kind of charm or something. This was actually something that sold on KBID. Nothing good to say about it. Don't do that. Next image. This was in an estate. And I don't even blame this affiliate for what happened here, because this situation happens quite a bit. Because you don't know that you're moving so fast that your picture turned out blurry because you're 50 lots ahead already. So if you're not periodically checking your images throughout the day, this is going to happen to you. So that's one reason that some affiliates like to use tablets when they're taking their photos, because it's easier to swipe back and see a full image of the video or of the items that they're selling to see if there's any issues like this. So the blurriness and the lighting and the clutter, there's some issues here, but this will happen to you if you're not watching what you're doing. Next image, great. Looks like a new or retail returned tool here. What I love about this is the cleanliness, the background. They've taken everything out to show the buyer exactly what they're going to get. And that's the big thing, especially if you're selling retail returns. Buyers need to know what they're going to get. If you don't know that it's all there, you're going to have to be prepared to take refunds and make it right with buyers. This is a great way to show people what's in the box, what's there, and the condition of the item. This picture I just like. I don't know why. I think the lines, the colors, the images, they sold these couches, I think, one at a time, but you know, it looked really good. Last one, I think they did a lot right in this image. They're selling some scaffolding there. The only thing that I questioned was the backdrop sitting on the floor. You know, it's like they went halfway there, but didn't quite go the whole way there. You know, in that case, if you're going to use a backdrop like that, either use it all the way or don't use it at all. So now we're nitpicking a little bit. Is that going to impact the price of this this lot? Probably not. But you know, just some best practices for you to think about. Videos. My challenge to you is use a video on anything that moves. Buyers want to hear it run and they want to watch it operate. And they don't want to take the time to come and inspect and drive 4 hours to your location. That's the reality of where we're at. Video inspections are going to become more and more popular. Videos give a complete view of the item. We use YouTube videos, so it's very easy to upload videos into YouTube. All you need is a Gmail account in order to set up a YouTube account, and I would encourage you to set up a business YouTube channel that you upload all of your images to, because that's just another way for you to drive traffic to your auctions, to your website, whatever you're using, and you know, another opportunity for you to self-brand yourself. You know, we all know the importance of videos and what they do, but you know, the reality is they increase participation, they decrease phone calls, they decrease issues, and that's the name of the game. That's what we're hoping to do. Descriptions. Here's the bottom line. If you're trying to get high bid prices, you have to build trust with your buyers. That is the end of it. Our whole goal is to eliminate doubt and to build trust. We eliminate doubt by telling people exactly what they need to know. We build trust by giving them the good, bad, and the ugly of what the items are that we're selling. And it's not just for this auction, it's for the next 10 auctions. Because you will have buyers that will follow you around because they like what you do. And they will bid over and over again on your auctions. Or they won't because they don't trust you. Or, you know, they bought something that was misdescribed, so they're never coming back to buy from you again. And that's not what we want. Our goal is to build trust with these buyers, because when they're confident, they're going to bid higher, prices will be better, and that's going to mean good things for you. Full disclosure, as we know, is a requirement. Like I said, tell them the good, the bad, and the ugly. Avoid opinions. Avoid that flowery language. Don't say your interpretation of the condition is irrelevant. Does it run? Does it drive? Does it work? Show me a video of it. Does it run great? Does it work great? That is your opinion, and we could have a differing of opinions. Leave out that language. There's no reason to do it. Your job is to test out condition yourself and factually describe it. Give it to the buyer. Give them the things they need to know. Dimension, size, power, serial number, model number. Buyers today are savvy. They are going to get that information. They're going to look it up online. They're going to start price checking. That's the first thing that they're going to do. So think as a buyer when you're creating your descriptions. Give them all that information that they need. KBIT does have requirements for specific items that you need to include some items in the description, such as vehicles, coins, ATVs. There's some things that you need, like for vehicles, we need year, make, model, VIN, plate number, just so buyers have the information that they need. Also, any titled items, salvage titles need to be disclosed right there in the description. Full disclosure. So let's talk about an example here of full disclosure gone wrong. So here we're selling a 50-year-old Chevy C60 single axle dump truck. This is an old farm truck. Everything about this description was great except for that last line. The consignor states that this truck runs great. First off, is the consignor going to stand behind that? Because when we put that in our description, that's now coming from us. So I don't care. It doesn't matter if your consignor said it or not. If we're putting that in our description, we're saying we're going to stand behind it. So don't do it. What I would do, truck is in working condition, goes in forward and reverse. We drove it 3 miles. Here's a video of it. Now you're letting the buyer determine the condition. When we put statements like this in our description, we are giving our opinion that if it's different from a buyer, this is what's going to happen. So a week later after this auction, this is our Google reviews. Got to really watch what you buy. I recently bought a dump truck. Said everything worked as it should. Not true. The rear end did not work as it should. Another $1,500 later, I have a working truck. But with that said, I have had some really good experience also. I will just make sure that I never give that money-hungry crook affiliate another penny. But I will continue to patronize affiliates to do their best for me. So, should this 50-year-old truck be assumed to be in perfect condition where this buyer would not have to do any repairs to get it working up to his standard? No. It's a 50-year-old farm truck that sold for under $3,000. The buyer should not be expecting a perfect vehicle. When we put that language in there, we're changing the game, and we have to stand behind it, and it leads to situations like this. So avoid that. This is a real-world example. Be factual with what you're listing. Lot condition disclosure. So if you are familiar with eBay, they have about 20 different condition statements that they use. We basically have 3, and most everything on our site is used, and it's assumed that it's used, and it's assumed that it's working condition. So what we mean by that is if you don't necessarily have to state that the item is used, but you do have to be aware that if you're listing a lawnmower and just give the make and model and dimensions and all that stuff, it's assumed that it's in working condition. We can't just go back and say, well, I never said that it worked. I just said it's a lawnmower. No, our job is to let buyers know exactly what they can expect. Is it in working condition? Does it need a carb cleaned? What do we notice? Does the motor turn over? Our job is to build that trust again. So most items that we sell are used. If there are issues with it, it could be 4 parts or not working. You should test every item that you can. If you can't test an item, you can list it as untested and condition not known. If you have to list an item as untested due to power requirements or whatever it may be, list the reason for it. Because if it just has a standard power plug-in and you say untested, well, how lazy are you if you can't plug it in and turn it on for 5 seconds? To me, that means that it's broken and it's not working and you're hiding something and you're not building trust. You're doing the opposite. So test it if you can. If you can't, put untested and give the reason why. Lastly, new. We don't sell many new lots, and we certainly can. The thing to know here is as is, where is. The term as is, where is nullified when a lot is described as new. Because when we say new, it better be like how I would expect it at Home Depot or Target or Walmart or wherever else I would buy it. Stock photos may be used for new lots, but we do want to indicate that the stock photo is being used and use an actual photo of the lot being sold. So take a picture of the box. In our opinion, retail returns, things with damaged box, it's not new. That could be unused, but it's not new. So for the most part, we try to avoid the new language in your descriptions just because it gives a expectation of it's going to be in perfect condition. So if you are using it, it better be in perfect condition. All right, so this is going to be in our knowledge base as well. If you have any questions, you can always take a look there. That's a synopsis of our auction setup, some basics for taking great pictures, taking great videos. Like I said, use the other affiliates out there. Take a look at auctions. You'll see who's doing a really good job and who's doing an average job and who's doing a poor job. Hopefully not anyone's doing a poor job, but emulate those that are really successful. See people who have really good bid prices. Watch the auctions. Try to replicate what they're doing because they know what they're doing and they know how to get good prices. So yeah, that's the end of this video, and we will talk to you soon.